Hey crafters, it's Leo with Dreaming Tree, and today we're putting together the Eek Estate. It's our Puts style Halloween house that's really simple to make, but full of charm. It sits on a round base with a creepy little fence and just the right amount of spooky detail. Now, we also designed it so you can slip in a small incandescent LED bulb, which means you don't have to fuss with batteries. It's the perfect little piece to tuck into a cozy corner of your home or to add to your existing Halloween village. Let's get started. Okay, so we're actually going to start off by constructing our little base here, and the base files you'll find in the folder labeled base. And now my foam core is it's a little beat up, but it's okay. Now inside of that download, you'll have one of these files will have a little T on it, and then there's a Roman numeral 2. You need to cut 2 of these. Okay, and this is a template. So what I suggest you do is just place it on your foam and just trace it. Place it and trace it. And then you're going to cut that out with your X-Acto, and we just need 2 of these. Okay, so go ahead and trace, place and trace and cut it out, and just have it ready for the next step. You guys can hopefully have an X-Acto. Most crafters do. And there you go. Get that cut out and get that ready for our next step. Okay, so as you can see here, I've got my 2 layers cut out, and we've given you a little bit of wiggle room just in case it's, sometimes you cut this at an angle and it might come out a little bit wider than it needs to be. We'll check it, and if we need to trim it, we can after the fact. I wouldn't worry about it right now. But what we want to do first is find these pieces here, and this is actually what's going to create the wall of our base, and we need to connect all 3 of these together. And you'll notice that on one end here, we do have a little tab. So go ahead and apply your glue to that tab, thin it out. Okay, and you can actually lay this down flat, grab another end. You'll see that there's a tab on one end. Now obviously we want to connect it like this. Okay, and line that up as accurately as you can. You can completely flatten that out. I like to kind of pre-train my little teeth here, just so it's easier to work with later on. Okay, just make sure you get that lined up, and then you can fold it over onto itself and just make sure that it sits perfectly on that other one so that where the one behind it almost disappears. Okay, that means that you've got it lined up perfectly. Okay, so now we have 2 of the sections connected, and we're going to do the same thing here. Apply our glue to this tab and then connect it to this one. Lay that down flat. You can spread these teeth out. I should have done that beforehand because my glue is starting to dry on me here. And nice and even. Press that down, give it a few seconds, and then fold it over onto itself again. Make sure it's lined up nicely, and press and hold. There we go. And then we're going to close it up now. So one more tab, essentially the same thing we just did, except that now we're going back to the first one and we're going to close it up. Okay, now with this one, I don't think we're going to be able to put this one down on the table, but once we get it connected, we can fold it onto itself, at least this first section here, just to make sure everything is nice and even. And there it is. Now it looks like a triangle right now, and that's fine. Go ahead and leave one side of teeth up, and then take the other side of teeth and push them in so that they're flat. Okay. And the other side of teeth. Now, what I want you to do, you have 4 of these pieces now. 2 of them have a little L on them, and 2 of them don't. The ones that don't, put those off to the sides. Grab the ones with the L, and I'm just going to put the L face down. It doesn't really matter. This is what we call a liner, and we're going to pop that in there. Okay, might take a little bit of finagling. That's why it's good to have some of the teeth up and then the other ones down. And there you go. So now this liner is going to help us shape this base. So you see what we did there. Okay. And there you have it. So now what we're going to do, we're going to start off by just anchoring this on one side. And I'm just going to do a couple tabs here. We'll just do 2. Tuck those under. And just make sure they're pushed up against this little circle as far as it'll go. And then press down to help that glue make contact with the tabs. And we have our first 2 teeth glued in place. Now what I want you to do is I want you to go all the way across to the opposite side and throw some glue on the 2 opposite from the 2 that we just glued down. Push that on, push that down, and push this up against the circle and press down. Okay, so now we have these 2 glued and these 2. Now let's go down to the 9 o'clock and let's get these 2 glued down. Okay, and then push those back. And just make sure that everything here is staying up against the edge of this little circle and push down. Okay, so now we have these, and these. So now you want to go all the way across and let's get these 2 glued down. So we're kind of staggering this because if you try to glue them like in clockwise or counterclockwise order, it might sort of throw things off. We want to stagger it like that. So we have 4 sections glued, and now we can glue these little sections here. So we can just do all of these now between the 2 sections that are already glued. And I'm just doing a dot of glue on each one. Tuck those back under. And make sure you're pushing this up against this liner as far as it'll go. And press down to help that glue get a nice hold. Here we go. And I missed one. Missed a couple actually. It might be because I didn't use enough glue. We'll see. This one needs a little more love here. It's probably a little sparse on the glue there. There we go. Now, that looks great. It doesn't really matter. This one was a little sparse on the glue there too. And it doesn't really matter what quadrant we work on next. I might just go over to the one opposite of the one that I just did. I don't think it matters at this point because it's already anchored in 4 sections, so it's not going to make much of a difference. We'll go ahead and put glue on all of those tabs in that quadrant. Tuck them under a little bit so that they lay flat. Make sure you're pushing this in and press down. As far as it'll go. There we go. Okay, those look pretty good. This one here, that's fine. Okay, moving on to the next quadrant. And anytime you work with something circular like this, I mean, it's going to be pretty close to perfect. Don't beat yourself up if it's not. This is one of the most challenging things we probably work with when we work with paper, is round things like this. Okay, we'll do our best. And just push that in as far as it'll go. And press down as you're doing that. You can see it's kind of fighting me in some little areas. You just gotta force it into place, do your best to get it all aligned as closely and accurately as possible. And that looks pretty darn good. I've got a couple tabs on that side that did not want to stick. That's okay. You can always go back and clean it up. I'm back to my last quadrant here. Just make sure you get enough glue on each of the little tabs there. Okay, tuck those in. You can see there's two loose over there. That's fine. That might happen, and that's okay. And just push that up against the liner and press down. And there we go. Let's take a look. That one looks good. Let's go back here and clean this up. Just two little tabs that just did not want to play ball, and that's okay. All right. Halfway there. Not too bad. All right, so we want to open these up now, flare them up, and what we're going to do is we're going to put our first little foam piece in here. You don't even need to really glue it. Just move these teeth out of the way. You want the teeth out. Let me pull these out. It's going to be kind of a tight, snug fit, and that's what we want. Just get them at least pointing out a little bit, at least on one side. You can kind of slide it in here. There we go. See, you got a little bit of wiggle room, which is exactly what we want. And then I'm going to go ahead and throw a little bit of glue on this one so that I can pop that second layer on there. It has something to hold on to. Make sure you don't get any teeth stuck between the two layers, that all of your teeth are out. Okay, try to keep that as centered as possible. There we go. All right, we can pop this one in here now. And what I'm going to do, this is kind of slightly counterintuitive, but I am going to do it this way. Okay, we're going to glue the tabs on top. So go ahead and fold them over now. I really wanted to do a round base. I know it's a little more challenging than a square, but it looks cuter. I guess cute's not the word since this is a Halloween project, but you know what I mean. And there we go. So yeah, this is going to be a little tedious here because we're going to have to glue these tabs down, but it'll be worth it. Let me clean off my nozzle here. And I think we'll do the same thing we did before. We'll just very gently and methodically go through here, and I'm going to go and do what we did before. Start on one side and then just kind of work my way around. We're going to kind of make a little cross shape first. Yep, see how that's coming out? That's nice. And then we'll go over here and fold that over. Now, my plan with this is to ink the edges, but I'm actually going to put some moss on mine. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I think it's going to give it a really cool look. So that's what I'm going to do, but you could have fun with it, and don't be afraid to really just get super grungy with this, because this is it's Halloween. This is where you get to really experiment and kind of have fun with things. Okay, so we've got the 4 sections glued down. Now I'm comfortable just going around here and doing the quadrants like we did before. But with this one here, we're gonna have to just kind of do this manually. It goes quick. It's especially helpful having, what's it called? The foam core there, because it kind of gives us something to press on. And that looks great. And don't worry if it's messy, because we still have 2 more pieces that are going to go over all this to hide any little imperfections. Just like that. Nice solid base. Our customer Tara was talking about how she wanted a cute little Halloween house that would fit on her mantle. And I said, you know what? We made this one kind of putsy. And when I say putsy, I mean in the style of the Putz houses. And those are usually fairly small. So it'll be cool because it's, you know, It's a little statement piece, but it's not overwhelming. So you should be able to kind of fit it pretty much anywhere in your home. Definitely find a place that has an outlet. We're not putting a bottom on this one. That's another difference with this. We're not putting a bottom on it because, well, it's kind of a waste of paper and it's going to sit on this base anyway, so what's the point? Okay, and as you can see here, I'm actually also kind of starting in the middle of each of these quadrants and then working my way out. Just kind of makes more sense, I guess. And if all goes well, when we put the final pieces on here, everything will look super round, hopefully. It's been a while since I've made a round base like this, so I'm hoping that it works out nicely. And I think I normally maybe wouldn't make a round base unless it was for Halloween. Just because if it doesn't work out perfectly, you could always say that, well, it's wonky because it's by design, it's for Halloween. So we have an escape route. All right, cool. So the base is done for the most part. We have 2 more pieces. Now take a look here. You notice that this one has little slits. This is so that the fence can come through. Okay, so that's going to be your top and this is going to be your bottom. Now what I want to do is put this piece on here and just kind of see which side looks best. Okay, like which one looks like it was assembled better. So this is going to be our top. That's probably the more important side. Okay, and that looks pretty good. Let me see this side here. That looks pretty good too. Now we don't want to glue this down yet because we need to put the fence through there first. I'm happy with this. Is going to be I'm going to label this my top. Okay, this is going to be my bottom. So here's what we're going to do. You can actually, it doesn't matter where you put the glue. I'm going to just get the glue around the perimeter here. I just know from experience that I'm probably going to have to paint this to make it nice and seamless. And when I say paint, I mean grab a scrap piece of paper and just kind of clean up the seams. But go ahead and put the bottom on. Get that nice and centered. Maybe not, we'll see. And then just run your finger along the perimeter. And we'll clean up any little gaps that we may end up with. Hopefully we don't end up with any. And another thing too is I'm going to ink this like crazy. So if we do have any gaps, it's okay. This is Halloween. It's going to be a little grungy, and that's okay. All right. Let's take a look. And just keep pressing along the bottom here. That's going to be, no one's really going to see that anyway. I'm not overly concerned about that. But if, again, you do end up with some gaps, take a scrap piece of paper, throw a little bit of glue right on the very edge of it, and just tuck it in between these 2 layers, like so, and then just press that down. Give that a little extra love, and it will be pretty much seamless. Okay, there's a nice gap here. I'll clean that up. Just stick your paper in there and press that down. And just work your way around. Again, this is going to be on your table. No one's really going to see it, but I'm super OCD about this, and I want it to look as like 3D printed as possible and not so much like a paper project, I guess. So I'm going to go around and just tidy it up a little bit with a little extra glue wherever the project just kind of screams for it. There's a little Halloween reference for you. And it's good to swap these little pieces out because once you get a little bit of glue on there, the paper gets wet and then it doesn't shove in between the little crevices as easily. But see, that looks very nice. Okay. All right, so that's that. We have just one more layer to put on. But first, we need to put our little fence through here. So here's your fence. And you'll notice that there's a series of little score marks here. And these are nice long tabs. And we were going to double this up, but I think if we did that, maybe it wouldn't bend as well. All right, so I'm going to have my texture side out, and we're just going to slide these little tabs through this slit. And it's kind of curved, so, you know, just take your time and get them all through there. And you will have to sort of start bending it, or curving it, I should say. And then just let it kind of rest at that point. Okay, there you go. That's how we want it to look, like that. And I'm gonna go ahead and flare these out. Don't worry about the fact that this thing's all the way through in some parts. I just want to have access to the tabs here. Okay, you can see the tabs. Let's just throw a little bit of glue on there, and we're going to fold them all the same way. Really doing some new stuff here. I love it. Okay, so you can see the glue on there. Fold those in so that they're almost at 90 degrees. Grab the top of the fence, pull it up, and then just press that down right there, like so. And that's it. That's all we need to do. And there's the little fence. Super cute. And there you go. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of, and it's wonky. It's like kind of falling over a little bit. You could definitely just bend it towards you a little bit if you want to straighten it out. That's fine. I'm not overly concerned about that. Another way of doing this, if you want, is you could actually poke it through this way. And that's fine too. Just make sure you have access to these tabs. And I'm going to push it through a little bit more than it needs to be. Throw a little bit of glue on each of these little tabs. Okay. Fold them over about 90 degrees. Put that down on your surface. Make sure it's all the way through and press down like that. And there you have it. Okay, so this is going to go on like this. It doesn't really matter which way, it's just a circle, so no big deal. Okay, and we're just going to glue this down. Now we can do the same thing we did before, where we just throw glue around the perimeter. Maybe I'll just do a line. I just want to make sure that I get it anchored, and then I can always go in and paint my glue. There we go. To clean it up and just make it look nice and seamless. I would definitely focus on, see, that's not centered. There we go. That's better. Okay, and press that down. Don't worry if it's not perfect. You can always go in and clean it up with our little painting method, which we'll probably have to do anyway. Okay, so my next step here is I'm going to take and I'm going to cut some of this moss that's essentially on a roll. And I'm going to put this on here. I'm going to do moss on here. Okay. But first I'm going to have to go around and clean this up and tidy it up so I don't have any ugly gaps. Okay. And once we're done with that, well, actually before I put the moss on here, I am going to ink the edges right here. and the top edge here, even though most of it will probably be hidden by the moss. I still want to do that just in case. All right, just going to go around and take a look at all my seams, get those all cleaned up using my painting method, and I'll kind of show you the end result in just a moment here. And maybe I'll even come back and do a little story time as I ink before we start putting together the actual Eek estate. Okay, that looks good. So you get the idea here. And this is what I do with some of my scrap paper. I'll just take it and just with some scissors, cut a bunch of these little rectangles that I use for painting like this, just to clean up the edges. There's absolutely no reason why you should have a project where you've got gaps between seams like this, because I've taught you how to clean that up. It's not that hard. And it's quite meditative, actually. And then you know that it's going to look amazing when you're done. Okay, so these little markers here are for the house. This is going to be the front, so definitely make sure that everything looks nice and tidy up front. Okay, ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and play around with the moss. I'm going to get that on there, and then I'll share some tips with you here in just a moment. All right, so on the base, on the very edges, I went super, super hard, meaning I did not hold back with the black ink on this. I've probably never inked something with this much ink in my life, and that is exactly what I wanted to do. I want it to look like it's super, super weathered. Now, typically, you guys know me, I try to ink very subtly. I don't even know if that's a word, but just right along the edges. We're gonna do the same thing with the house, or at least I am. Okay, and you can get the surface a little bit. Most of this for me is gonna be hidden by this moss that I'm gonna add. So it's not like that important that I get the surface, but I want the edges to look super grungy, okay? Anyway, this is the moss that I purchased, and I took the same template that I used for the foam core. And you obviously don't want to use your fabric scissors for this. Grab an old pair of scissors, and I did this on this paper part of it. There's a section that doesn't have the paper, well, at least on the one I purchased, but it cuts nicely, and I would cut this a little bit larger than you need to. You can always go and trim it smaller once you have it in place. Okay, and what we're going to need to do is be a little methodical about the fence, because we need to get this over the fence. A couple ways of doing that, and we'll get to that in a second. Okay, so if you are doing what I'm doing with the moss, which again is totally optional, what I'm going to suggest you do is cut another one of these top pieces, okay, and use the little guides there to help you know where to cut. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that I have this centered on the original little guide. And then this little cut here, I'm going to just take my marker. Okay, so you can see exactly where you need to slice. And I'm going to go a little bit further than I need to. And hopefully this works with, you should use an X-Acto. I'm just using a knife or a razor blade. Definitely getting into the Halloween spirit here. This should be fine. And the cool thing is once you cut it, as long as you can slide it over, you can kind of push it back, or even if you need to, you can take a little extra moss from the pile and just add to it, just kind of glue it down if you kind of lose some. So let's see if my theory is correct here. I should be able to slide this. Now actually what I would recommend doing is kind of cut it a little bit more than you need to, more than that line, just to give yourself a little wiggle room, literally. And then, like I said, we can always take scissors and kind of trim the edges of this once we get it into place. Let's pop that in and go over the fence like that. Perfect. Like a glove. And there you go. Okay. So at this point, I can glue this down because that is perfect. And then I'll probably just take some scissors and trim that a little bit. Okay. But there you go. So there's your spooky base, and I'm definitely going to glue that down because I want it to be nice and flat around the perimeter. And I guess I could probably even take and ink that if I need to. I'm just going to have some fun with this, but glue it down. Okay, so you can actually take this back off. I would probably use some hot glue on this. I'm going to fire up my hot glue here, and yeah, looking pretty cool so far. So I'm going to get this hot glued, trim around the outside, and I'll show you the end result here in just a moment. Okay, so for the rest of this, literally just going around with a scissor and just trimming it. Kind of taking the bottom part of the scissor and pressing it up against the base, and then just trimming like you're giving it a haircut. Don't accidentally, I don't know if as long as you rest it against the edge, I don't know that you're actually going to cut the paper. Okay. But look at that. That looks great. There's a little bit of white showing there, but I don't know if that actually bothers me at all. You could if you want. I don't know if inking is going to work. If you have any gaps on this little section here, you can do the same thing. Just paint a little bit of, even regular glue will work. Okay, I got a mess on my desk right now, and that's okay. But just take a little bit of glue and pop it in between this grass and just press and hold it down. So everything looks nice and seamless. But look at that, that's so cool. It's like I love it. And I guess if you want to get crazy, you could even cut a little strip and glue that around the outside. Yeah, I mean, whatever. It's still cool the way it is. Yeah, what else can I say? I think that's awesome. What a cool base. All right, so we're gonna start by, well, just kind of eliminating little pieces here. And these are the panels that I'm going with for the outside of my haunted house, my Eek estate. And we're going to begin by just gluing down the little windows. So we're kind of trying to stay true to the Putz style of house making, and that being the use of glitter. Okay. And let's get the first one put in. Now we also have some vellum that we'll be gluing down, and we can either glue it to the main structure or we can glue it to the inside of this piece. I'm going to do it on the structure itself, just so that when we go to put these pieces on, we don't run into any issues. Vellum's relatively thin, so I can't imagine that we would, but here you just want to make sure that you're grabbing the right windows, because they are like different sizes. It might help to kind of line them up so you see what you have. And that one goes there. So this one has kind of a thicker top there. And we'll just slowly but surely eliminate all these little pieces. Now, much like Santa's workshop, the roof is segmented so that it's realistic and easy to apply. So that will be very familiar if you made Santa's workshop. Now, one thing that I do want to mention, actually, I guess we'll have to add a note to the download so that you don't run into any issues. But if you are cutting the roof out of glitter like I did, the numbering system on the shingles, well, they might be hard to see through the glitter. So I actually, as I was taking it off, started writing the numbers on the back. Okay, so I'll show you what I mean. I might have to actually do just a quick separate video for that. Okay, all right, moving along here. Now let's just make sure that we are doing this correctly. We'll throw this little guy right here. This is the front. So these two pieces are pretty much identical, which means that they're going to take the same windows. And then we have this one that's going to go there. Just want to make sure we got that right. And then this little guy here is going to go at the top. That's for the main roof at the top of our Eek Estates. So we kind of ran a little bit behind and made a sort of a last minute decision to include a structure. And of course, those are the most challenging to engineer and develop. So we're a little bit behind, but it'll be well worth it. I really do think that with the items that we have in this bundle, it's probably, well, definitely, I guess you could argue that we have more impressive Halloween structures, especially the Bates Manor. But as a bundle, I don't think we have a better bundle. If you pair the Wolfman and the card and then the little Eek Estate, I have a separate video for the assembly of the base. And actually, I took it even a step further after I finished filming it. I mentioned during the video that I might actually cut out some little strips and put it around the side as well. And I ended up doing that. I'll show you here in a second. So you can see, it turned out really nice actually. I was very surprised at how well it turned out. Okay, so there's that panel. And that's gonna look cool with all that glitter. And let's get this window in place. I'm just doing a series of dots. That's all you really need. I don't want that glue spilling out and getting all over my beautiful pattern paper. There we go. Check this out real quick. I have some little doohickeys on here that I'm going to dress this up with, but look at the front of that. It looks seamless. It's beautiful. Very simple little base, but probably one of my favorites that I've ever made. Okay, all right. So we've got that. And now what I want to do is we're going to flip these around so that we're looking at them from the inside. Find all the pieces that have little window cutouts, which is pretty much all of them. And we're going to get our vellum glued into place. So before we glue it down, I want to just lay it out so that I'm sure that we have the correct ones. Now, one of these is going to go on the top of the roof, the main roof at the top of the estate. It's going to be the larger circle, so save that for later. This little guy is going to go here. This one's going to go here. There's a large window. We have two more. There's one there. There's in there. And then we have some tall but skinny windows. Tall but skinny. And then short and skinny. So there you go. That's how we need to glue our vellum down. And again, just a series of little dots around the cutout. Don't need to get crazy here. Just make sure that you are covering up the entire cutout so that it looks like that. And we can move that out of the way as we get through them. You don't need a lot of glue for vellum. It's relatively light and thin. Okay. There we go. Just like that. Moving along. I was up at 4:45 this morning, I was hoping we were going to get this done yesterday, and that didn't happen. And you know, we were in Amsterdam and I was in Poland this month, so we're so behind. And I have a date with my lovely lady tonight on a boat on a lake. We're going muskie fishing, so I need to get my work done. I can't blow this off. There is a state record muskie in that lake, and we've been looking forward to this for a while. As much as traveling was fun, I think we're probably going to enjoy this even more. I mean, I got to see my grandma in Poland. I haven't seen her in 25 years, so that was definitely the highlight. But nothing like being on a boat. Okay, there we go. All right, so our vellum is in place. All right, good deal. One last thing that we can kind of pre-prep here is the door. I'm going to take the wood grain piece here and get that glued down onto the black base. Did I say wood grain base? I meant wood grain overlay. And we'll get that glued down. Just make sure to match that up as accurately as you can. And I may even distress this even more once I get it on this piece. So I want it super grungy. There's a prime opportunity for a little pearl there to act as a doorknob. Okay, that's perfect. Cool. All right. And now let's get into it. I'm going to move these panels out of the way. We don't need these right now. Those are going to go on after the structure is put together. And what you'll notice on this is that it is numbered. Okay, here's 1. And then we have, now 2 is this little guy here. This is the little door step. So that's going to go there. This is also going to go here, the one with the F, that's the front. Then we have 3. This is the top of the roof. And then this is our number 4. That's going to be the back of the house. Okay, so first thing I want to do, we'll just kind of take this methodically here. is we're going to assemble this little step. Okay, and you have there's two triangular tabs at the front. Let's get those glued into place. And don't worry about making a mess here because we have panels that are going to go over all of this. Okay. So if you get a little bit of glue that shoots out, it's not the end of the world. We're going to be covering up this entire project for the most part. We went with a black color for the structure just because I knew I was going to be heavily inking this on the edges. And the edges were going to be black, so if there are any gaps in the project, well, it'll reveal, the gaps will reveal this black color, so it's not the end of the world. Okay. Now these tabs here, we're going to use these to anchor this to the rest of the house, and then this is going to be our bottom. So what I want you to do next is we're going to assemble the front here. Okay, so go ahead and apply some glue to this little triangular tab here. And tuck that behind, line it up, and press that into place. Again, don't worry if you got glue shooting out on the black. We are literally covering this completely. Sometimes we leave little offsets or insets for this type of stuff, but with this one we're completely covering everything. So we don't really need to worry about any messes with the glue. All right, let's line that up as well. There we go. And again, these tabs back here, we're going to be using that to connect and anchor the other parts. We have a triangular tab left up here. Go ahead and apply your glue to that, nice and thin if possible. And if for whatever reason you just can't get your nozzle in there, you can always use a scrap piece of paper to kind of thin the glue out. Just throw it away when you're done. That way you're not leaving glue on your table where you could accidentally maybe, well, stick your finger in it, stick your hand in it, or God forbid, another piece of paper just gets stuck to it. We don't want that. All right, we're going to take these pieces now, these tabs, we're going to fold them out because we're going to end up, this is going to get tied into another piece here. Okay, so there's your front. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this, we're going to connect this to this part here. Okay, so what I would do here is just put a little bit of glue on this tab and then maybe just a little bit right here as well. Right out to the edge. Okay. And just pop that in. Make sure it's nice and centered. Like that. Kind of hold it like that. Make sure it's centered. Press that down. And yeah, I've been fighting a little bit of a cold this week. I don't know if you want to call it that. I don't know if it was, I think it started as allergies and then it just kind of, I don't know, there's some bug going around, that's all I know. All right, so that is tethered and connected. Now we're going to take these two triangular tabs, one on each side, throw a little bit of glue on that. We're going to bring that in up against the inside of this section here. Now, I originally wanted this as a separate piece, but this will just make sure that everything looks more cohesive. It's a little extra work, but it's fine. All right, so you see what's happening here. And then we have one more little tab here. Go ahead and throw some glue on there. And tuck that in to the inside here. And press and hold. Now these tabs right here, we're going to, this is a little skeleton piece. It's going to keep this thing nice and shapely for us. And the rest of these tabs are going to get tethered to or connected to the remainder of the house. Okay, so there's our front. Now you can go ahead and start working on the side here. Okay. So what I'm going to suggest you do here is start by forming the main part of this. It doesn't matter if you're doing the left or right side. This is piece number 3, by the way. It doesn't really matter. We just want to make, we numbered them so that we know where they go, even though it's, I think it's pretty self-explanatory where everything's going to go. But nevertheless, we have the markers there for you. Okay. Press that into place. And then go over here. Well, that one's fine. I'm going to go and connect this roof, the pitch part, to the top. Just kind of start forming everything. Make sure that's lined up as accurately as you can. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, so there's the one side. Okay, so these tabs here, you want to pull them out towards you, and we're going to connect this like so. And these tabs up here are ultimately going to connect the top part of the house. Okay, so we don't need to worry about that just yet. But we do want to get this connected now. Okay, so let's do that. You can go ahead and put a little bit of glue here. Just go easy. Again, if it kind of sprays out a little bit, it's not the end of the world. Okay, so the important thing here is to make sure that this horizontal line matches with this horizontal line here on the side, like so. And just push that in as far as it'll go. There we go. All right, so you can see that tab is now glued to the inside. And then we have this little triangular tab, and that is going to go under. It's going to get glued onto the underside of the step on this side here. You can see this little guy here. You can see him, there he is. Throw a little glue on that and fold that over onto the underside of the top of the step on this section here. Whoops. There we go, just hold that in place. Give that a second. And then we have this little triangular tab, just right under it, right there. And that's gonna get glued right here. Okay, so I'm gonna fold this over, and I just wanna look from the front just to make sure that I've got this laid out correctly. There we go. Okay, so maybe we'll mark this so you can see. There, I just glued that right on there. Here's the shape of it. It's kind of hard to see because it's black, and then there's the other tab here. Oh no, it's right here actually, sorry. Right on the underside. Let's see if I can show you that. There it is. There's that little one, and then there's that one right there, okay? So there is that. And that's looking good. Let's make sure that this thing sits nice and flat, and it does. Okay, so let's head over to this side now, and we'll do the same thing. Go ahead and get this assembled. Throw a little bit of glue here. And tuck that under and behind. Line that up as accurately as you can. Oh boy. There we go. should go pretty quick. Very few tabs. It's a little weird as far as like the overall shape of it, but you know, it is Halloween, so what do you expect? All right. Get that lined up, tuck that in and under, line it up, and press and hold. Again, these little fellas here, we're going to use that to connect this guy in a little bit. It's going to be important that we have that bottom opened up so we can get our hands in there to do that. Let's fold these out, get them ready for later. Okay. There we go. And now, just like we did on this side here, we're going to glue this. This tab's going to go under. This tab's going to go behind. So let's get some glue on this one. This is tab. There's a Roman numeral 2 on there. Okay. And let's get that lined up. Remember, this tab's going underneath the step, that little triangular one there. Make sure that this is lined up right here. This and this should line up and match up nicely. Just focus on that. Okay. You gotta get your finger back there. You can actually do this like this temporarily, and then fold it in. Just make sure that tab's grabbing. And there we go. Just like that. Let's take a look. Looks like it grabbed it nicely. Just be patient, take your time. It's a little wonky. There we go. Okay, now back to these two little tabs here. Now if you want, they actually do this tab here first. Just bring that in and glue that to the inside of this section here. So this is the larger of the two tabs. Right there. Okay, and just make sure that that is nice and straight and lined up. Kind of pushing the step up against the side of this one here, like so. Right there, you can see that little tab there. Okay, and then this little triangular one, it's going to go underneath the step. So a little dot of glue on that one there, and just fold it over and press that into place. There we go. Okay, you can fold this down. Just get that ready for later. Okay, there we go. Beautiful. Okay, let's put that off to the side for a second. Now take a look at this piece here, okay, and find this piece here. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to flip this upside down. Okay. I'm going to leave it like this. And it really doesn't matter, but ultimately these four little tabs need to be sticking up like this. You can flatten them out for now, because what we need to do is glue this to the inside here like so. We want to make sure that we get this centered. Okay, so let's go ahead and throw some glue on this tab, the one that's just below. Hey Siri, stop. The one that's just below the window, and take this piece, get it centered, make sure it's right in the middle. It's kind of hard working with black sometimes, and just press that down. Okay, just like that. And then we'll take these two tabs on the side and finish off the job, and this will sort of shape this thing partially at least. Now tuck that under and push that down. I'm going to do the same thing to the last side here. A little bit of glue on this tab and tuck that under and push that down. Okay, so we have this piece built now, and what we're going to do is we're going to pop this right on top, and you can see that we have those tabs ready so that we can tether this and glue this down. And I'm going to start with the front, which means that we have these two tabs here, right there and right there. I'm going to start with one. Just throw a little bit of glue on there. Don't need to cake it. Okay, and then take that tab and press it up against the back side of this. As long as it's centered, which of course we have that little peak of the roof there, push it down as far as it'll go and just press and hold that in place. Let that set. Just like that. That's all we need. And then we'll go over to the other one right here. Okay, you can see it there. Throw a little bit of glue on that. Don't need to be crazy with it. And then I'm going to look at it from the front just to make sure it's nice and flat and flush all the way down. And push that down and press it into place. There we go. Okay, so now that's tethered. And now we have this section here. There's two tabs here, one here and one here. You can see those tabs right there and there. We'll start with the one closest to the inside. Just throw a little bit of glue on that. Doesn't need to be perfect. You can see that glue there. We're going to take that and fold it over to the inside of this section, and I'm going to look at it from the outside here. I'm going to push this up against this roof as far as it'll go and press that into place very gently. Okay, just like that. That's nice. And then we'll do the same thing here with this tab. Okay, you can see this tab here. You might need to get maybe just get an extra light in here. You know, I'm having deja vu. I feel like this always happens around Halloween. I need extra light. There we go. I'll get this going here so you guys can see better. Okay. There we go. That's a little better. Let me bring this even closer. There's this tab here. I'm going to throw a little bit of glue on that. Again, doesn't need to be perfect, just needs to hold. And we're going to fold it this way up against the inside here, but I'm going to look at it from out here. This is the tab we're gluing. I'm pushing it up against this roof as far as it'll go. Just like that. Okay, there we go. A little bit of glue just shot out there, but that's okay. I'm not worried about it. And there we go. And then we'll go over to the other side. We'll do the same thing. Let's start with the tab closest to the front, this guy here. Throw a little bit of glue on that. Okay, and then I'm going to look at it from outside here. Whoops. Got a little bit of glue on my fingers. I'm pushing that up against the inside here. And press and hold. Just need it to grab. And I'll show you what it looks like here in a second. There it is. There's that tab glued into place. And then we'll go over here, pull this tab back. Right there. This little guy. Throw a little bit of glue on him. And glue that. I'm looking at it here. And I kind of pushed this down a little bit so it's right up against this peak. And press that into place. There we go. Perfect. All right, so all that's left now is just the back of this to close it up. And we're going to kind of cheat a little bit here just to make things easier for us. Now, first we need to tether this to the top. Okay, and we have a little slit up there so we can get our fingers in there. You can see, and then what I'm actually going to do is we're going to glue these tabs to the outside just to make it easier, but we do need to tether it to the top. Just kind of tie it in. Okay, you can put this on the side if you want. Slide it in as far as it'll go. Give it a good solid push, and then you can use your fingers to press that down. Get it in as far as you can. Get it all the way in there. And hold. There we go. But these tabs here that are part of this structure, we are going to glue these to the inside. Okay, so here's what we need to do. Just throw a little bit of glue on this tab here. Okay, and tuck that under. And just line that up. Nice and straight. Just hold that in place. Just make sure it's as straight as you can get it. And just hold, hold, hold. There we go. Perfect. And then we'll do the same thing here. Just get a little bit of glue on this tab. I'll tuck that under. Line that up. Make sure it's in as far as it'll go. Line that up and press and hold very gently. Keep it straight. As straight as you can. And then the rest of these tabs, we'll be able to use our desk or our surface to get the rest of this in place. And then it doesn't matter again because we're going to be putting panels on top of this, so it'll be super easy. Okay, there we go. All right, so now you can see here, this is going to go like this, and these are going to go on top. And then we're just going to cover it up, so it doesn't really matter. Let's go ahead and get this one down first. Just throw a little bit of glue on this tab here. Tuck this in. And just push in as far as it'll go and press down from the inside to get that in place, like so. Let's go over to this one now. Throw a little bit of glue on that. And make sure that's tucked under. Push and press down from the inside onto that tab. Okay, there we go. And that just leaves these two tabs. And you could probably do both of them at the same time. Just tuck those under and press down from the inside. And just make sure that it's all the way in. There we go. Take a look. I need a little more pressure towards the bottom of that. Okay. And there we go. Okay. So as I mentioned, this is going to go over this anyway. You're not going to see those tabs, so it's fine. All right, so there's our structure. That's nice. Now let's take these two pieces and we're going to glue these together. These are just a little skeleton piece to help keep this thing's shape a little more uniform and correct. We're going to glue both of these together so it's 2 layers thick. Okay. Helps to pick it up. Just kind of use your fingers to feel it. There we go. I think I can turn this off now. Wonderful. Let me clean off my nozzle. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna stick this in here now. Because you can see this thing's still kind of flimsy, but once we get this in, it won't be. So just pop it all the way in. Don't worry about the glue. I'm not concerned about that quite yet. Bring that down. And what we're gonna do is apply our glue. I'm gonna start at the front. Actually, you know what? Let me turn this light back on. It's pretty helpful. We'll start with this tab here. Throw a little bit of glue on that, and then just fold it up and just press it up against that little skeleton piece that we just built. Get that. So that's glued to the skeleton there. Now we're gonna go to the back. We're gonna flare this tab out and throw a little bit of glue on that. And then fold it up and press it up against the skeleton piece. Just make sure that it's nice and centered. And just going down the row here, pressing up against, taking that tab and pressing it against that little skeleton piece. There you go. So now that's connected. So let's go over here to this tab now. Throw a little bit of glue on that. Fold it over, press it up against the skeleton. You can use your table. It's totally fine. Okay, let's go over to this side. Same thing. And now you can kind of feel that this thing is a lot more solid. There we go. And just a few more tabs left. Doesn't matter which ones you do at this point. I think it's pretty much going to be pretty solid. Fold that over, press it up against the skeleton piece. Let's go here, press that into place up against the skeleton. And then there's two left, these little guys towards the front. A little dot of glue there, fold that over. I'm kind of pushing that skeleton up against the very edge as far as it'll go. And voila. Okay, so now we got a nice solid bottom. And there we go. Okay, cool. Okay, so it's time to put some panels in place here. Okay, and we're gonna do the front and the back first, and then we're gonna do the sides. Okay, so here's this, and let's gotta find the rest of the pieces here for all of these little sections. Okay, and where's the top? There it is. Okay, so that's gonna go like that. All right, so let's get going here. I'm gonna start with a little step and just get that glued into place. All right, so I put a little bit of glue on that and just push that in as far as it'll go and press that down onto the step. Okay, and just keep holding. Make sure it's all the way back as far as it'll go. Just like so. There we go. Now we got this guy here. So with this, I would suggest gluing the face of this down first and then doing the two sides, just to make sure you get it nice and centered. Don't squish your house. We spent all this time building it. We don't want to ruin it now. Okay, just hold that in place for a moment. There we go. And once that's on there, you can peel one side back and throw a little bit of glue on there. Make sure you get glue out to the very, very edge here. That's the most important part. And then fold that over and press that down and hold it. You can still get your finger in there, which is nice. And it looks good. See the inking, the edges, and the black structure color works perfectly for this. Kind of hides all the seams. Makes it look all seamless. Okay, just hold that in place. Beautiful. Look at that. It's starting to come to life. I love it. Okay. Let's do the face of where the door goes. And actually, you know what? I should glue the door down. I'm gonna hit this with a little more ink. I said I wanted to muddy this up a lot more now that it's on the base. It's a lot easier to ink this because it's thicker. This wood grain paper was relatively thin, but now that it's got some cardstock backing it, I really just want to muddy this up. It's an old, decrepit, worn out door. Yeah, that's why I didn't glue it down initially. I wanted it to dry and then kind of got sidetracked with the rest of the project. That's okay. Just get it nice and muddy. Just really distress it. It's the one time a year that you'll hear me say that. So this is going to be flush. Now there are markers on this, but because of the pattern paper, it's kind of hard to tell. I have to kind of eyeball it. But use that little window at the top as kind of a reference to make sure you get it centered. And you do want the door flush at the bottom. Let's see here. Let's see if I can get this centered. You can kind of sneak a peek at the markers from the inside. There we go. That worked. Perfect. Okay. All right, so next thing we're going to do here is we're going to glue this like this and then fold these in like so. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the face, just like we did with the step. Get the face in place and then do the two sides. Okay. You can drop that down so that it kind of hits the step. Make sure it's good and centered. You can push from the inside as well. There we go. Make sure that the two sides do fold over nicely. And that everything is making good contact with the structure. There we go. And you can fold this over. And then get that glued into place. Push that in as far as it'll go. Make sure it's nice and straight. There we go. Okay. Come over to this side. Same thing. Whoa. See those ninja skills? Okay, and fold that in and over. And press and hold. There we go. Now the roof is going to go up here, but obviously we need to get this on first. Whoa, geez. Okay, cool. All right, next I'm going to take these guys and get these glued down like so. And I'm going to hit this with a little more ink right here. I want it a little darker there. Okay, go ahead and flip this around. Get your glue on there. This has a very interesting texture on the back of it. And actually, I think that's really going to help with holding and gluing faster. And push that in as far as it'll go. We want that to be absolutely seamless. I think this paper is a perfect fit for this house. It's got a very spooky look to it. Almost looks like birch, maybe. I don't know. I'm kind of a tree hugger guy. That looks great. Okay, we'll do the other side. And that's going to go right in there, like so. Okay, and bring that in. And just kind of push that as far as it'll go, in and down. You want this to be as seamless as possible. That's looking awesome. Cool, man. And while that's drying, I might just muddy that up even more. I'm going all out with the ink on this one. There we go. Okay, looking good. All right, so this is obviously roof. That's roof. We have this little piece that's going to go right here, so we can get that in place as well. Let's get that glued down. Of course, I'm getting low on glue here. I'm just curious, like how many bottles of glue I've gone through in 10 years. It's probably less than you think, actually. And I could probably go on Amazon and figure that out. All right, let's pop that in there. And I'll push that down as far as you can. And press that up against the house. There we go. Everything feels perfect as far as how it's kind of perfectly aligned with this here. That's so nice. Okay. That looks great. Look at that. Yeah. It is starting to come together and I'm so delighted. So delighted. So delighted that I didn't get enough glue up at the top. And I need to fix that. Okay, let's finish that up there. Yeah, this is gonna be nice. This is gonna be nice. Okay, we have two of these that go here as well. This one we can put in right now, and look at how perfectly that lines up. Boy, that is something else. I'm getting kind of excited now. I wish I could put on some spooky music, but they'll probably won't let me post the video. That's one thing I miss. I don't get to do that often, is craft with music on. I don't get to do that. You guys maybe do, unless you're just listening to me the whole time, which, I mean, understandable. All right, so we got this side in. It is looking fantastic. I'm so happy with this right now. Okay, make sure that's all the way up against the inside there. Yeah, buddy. All right, let's go to the other side and get that in there, and then we'll put the back on, and then we'll put the sides on, and we'll start working on the roof and the shingles. And that's going to be a trip down memory lane with how we did Santa's Workshop, but just way less pieces. So it'll go quicker. But I love the size of this because, you know, sometimes when we make buildings, they're so large and it's almost like hard to find a place for these projects when you're done. This is small enough to where it's a statement piece, but you can pretty much find a spot for it anywhere in your home because, you know, maybe even on your mantle. I don't know where this is going to go yet. We'll see. All right, so now we're going to put the back on like so, and then we'll do the side. So go ahead and put some glue on this. Let's get this glued down. We'll wrap up the panels and we'll call the roofers. Okay. Okay, so we just have two side pieces now that we need to put on. Both of these are the same, so it doesn't matter which one you grab at this point. Let's go ahead and get our glue going here. We're going to start working on the roof here in just a moment. And that'll go quick. All right, so match that up. Obviously, you want to make sure it's flush on the bottom. So give that a little push, a little nudge, and look at that. It's perfect. I'm going to put this down on my surface, push down from the inside, really help that get a grip. And then we'll check my seams, just make sure that everything's lined up nicely. And yep, see that black structural layer worked perfectly because it kind of is a continuation of the inking at the edges, and everything just looks so seamless and beautiful. There we go. Dig it. Okay, one more on this side, and that's it for the panels. I've got a gap there. I'm going to clean that up before I put this final panel in place. Just a little scrap piece of paper. Just kind of tuck it in there. Paint a little extra glue on that spot. Chuck that thing in the trash so it doesn't end up stuck to something. And voila. Okay, there we go. Let's get the last panel in place. And my glue's starting to clog up. Not a good time, Mr. Glue. All right, again, make sure it's flush on the bottom. And then just feel it. Get that right on there. This paper's great, by the way. Hopefully, Michelle over at 12 by 12 cardstock has something comparable. But anything really grungy will work perfectly for this. Push down from the inside. There we go. Let's take a look at that. That looks great. Okay, cool. All right, so now we're gonna take this little roof piece, and this is gonna slide over like this. The side that is kind of open right here, you see there's a little strip here. That's gonna go in the back. This is gonna go in the front. Okay, and you may need to just kind of force your hand here and press that into place gently, like that. Okay, so I'm going to actually just kind of leave it, and I'm going to put glue on this surface here to get this glued down, and I'm probably going to need to clean out my nozzle because it is not playing. It's not being a good boy. I'm going to push that up against the house as far as I can. And press that down. Make sure, of course, that's matched up with the peak of the roof. There we go. And that's just going to kind of set the stage for our shingles. Okay, go ahead and apply your glue here as well. Make sure you get it down to the bottom, off to the sides, a little bit in the middle. Find that peak, push it down up against that peak, and push it up against the inside of the house as far as it'll go. Keep it nice and straight. There we go. Just like that. Okay. Wonderful. And then you can lift this up. And I think what we'll probably have to do here is just do both sides at the same time. Throw a little glue on there. I might even need to refill this thing. Okay, bring this down. Again, make sure it's just hold it here. Don't worry if that center part doesn't look perfect just yet. and we can pull it down. I'm more concerned about making sure that it's sticking to the house, to the main part of the house. Give that a second. That will actually go away. If you got a little bulge here or some, I guess you can call it resistance, that's all gonna go away when we put the shingles on anyway, so I'm not overly concerned about it. Okay, so there's our roof. There we go, okay. And then we have the roof on the front as well, and that's gonna go like this. Okay, and that should match up with these little cutouts here as well. That looks nice. So we can just go ahead and throw a little bit of glue on this surface. Careful not to get it on your beautiful pattern. And just pop that on, push it up against the face of the house as far as it'll go. And press that into place. There we go. Wonderful. Just like that. Okay. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to divide up. Well, first off, we have, these are the top caps for our roofs here. This is going to go here and here, and this is going to go here. We need that. These roof pieces that look like this, they're kind of like trapezoid shaped. Those are for the top part of the roof. Okay, so we don't need those right now. I'm just kind of putting them in a pile just to make sure that they're all together. That's fine. Okay, and then these little strips are also for the top of the roof. So we can put those off to the side. We don't need those just quite yet. But we do need these pieces here. Okay, and again, there's a README file in your download that tells you that if you're cutting your shingles out of glitter, the numbering system may not be visible from the front. So as you pull these off, you may need to write the numbers on the back. Okay. I may have missed one of them. We'll see. Okay, so there's something obvious here that we can kind of do, and you'll see that majority of these are a certain width, and then there's other ones that are a little bit skinnier, right? And obviously these skinny ones are going to go on the roof on the front of the house. So let's kind of put those all in a pile. All right, and if you look, you'll notice that the numbering convention is 4, 3, 2, 1, and then there's a cap. So let's do 4, 3, 2, 1, and then there's our cap. We'll do those later. Okay, so let's get some practice here with the front. Okay, and here's piece number 4. And there's a Roman numeral, it's not a Roman numeral, it's the 4 little, it's this. It's 4 little marks in the shape of a square, and then there's a little line just above it, and that's where you want to match that up. You want to glue that right onto there. Okay, so I want to make sure I don't lose any of my shingles. Go ahead and just start applying our glue to the shingles, and that came out like Niagara Falls. Okay. So just match that up with the little score mark just above that 4. Should be flush with the front, like that. Okay. And then we can just go up. Now find the 3. We're going to do 3 next, and then there's a score mark right there as well, just above that 3. And you're going to glue that right up to the score mark, like so, and press that into place. Okay, you can see what's happening there. And I kind of like that it's a white core at this point, just because I feel like the glitter is kind of getting lost on itself. So having that little bit of white there adds a little contrast and separation. If I don't like it at the end, I can always ink the face of it. Okay, so here's number 2, and there's a score mark there. Just line that up with the score mark. Again, making sure that it is flush with the front. And press that up against that black structure. There we go. That looks good. And now find number 1. And let's get that glued into place. You mostly want to make sure that the glue's up towards the top. Okay. And there is a score mark there as well. I should have that light on the other side, but I don't know that I have a long enough cord on that. There we go. Okay, there you go. You can see how cool that set of shingles looks. Now we're going to go over to the other side, start with the 4 at the bottom, find that little score mark, and repeat the same process, and then we'll put the little end cap on top. And that roof is done. The process for this guy here is going to be pretty much identical. Let's find that little score mark. There we go. Keep that flush at the front. Make sure it's nice and straight. Okay, let's go to 3. Keeping that glue right towards the top. There we go. Line that up with the score line. Okay, let's go to 2. Ooh. Every time I do that, I think of my customer, Chris, in Florida, who sent me this beautiful vintage little piece of glass that I was supposed to put my glue bottle in every single time I wasn't using it, so that the glue was always at the tip, and I failed to do that. I just can't teach an old dog new tricks, as they say. That, and no matter how much I try, after a project's done, out of sight, out of mind, I never ever put the cap on my bottle. So every time I come in and do a project, I have to clean the nozzle. And it's just one of those things. It's the child in me. Okay, so grabbing number 1 now, again, lining it up with the marker, which is kind of hard to see on this side. I'll try to do it from this side so you can see. And then you see there's just a little bit left at the top, and that's where that cap's going to go. We're going to cap it off, just like roofers do. There we go. All right, and with this, whoops, put glue on the entire thing. Nice and easy. Probably did way too much, but it is glitter on glitter, so it's going to need a little extra love. Press that down, and with this, you might have to hold it for a minute just to make sure that it really takes. Okay, so there's that, and yeah, the white on there, it doesn't bother me, the white core, just because we have black and white throughout this whole thing. It actually adds a nice contrast to it. And let's see, I'm not going to let it go. There's no way it's ready. Nope, I knew it. Yeah, so this is going to take a minute since it's glitter on glitter. Okay, yeah, so this roof is going to take a little bit of time just because I'm working with glitter. If you're working with cardstock, you're probably not going to have as much trouble. Okay. Let's see, did that take? It did. All right, cool. That looks great. It's not quite done. Still drying. Just glitter is so fun to work with. It looks great, but boy, is it a pain to glue. I'll tell you that. maybe I would love to use hot glue right now, but it's so thick. That looks great. Look at that. Cool. All right, so now we have the main roof, okay, and the numbering convention starts with 6 on the front, and it also, on the back, it starts with 5, but these are all the same size. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to group these by number first. Okay, where is it? There's my other one. Okay, so we should have 4 1s, 4 2s, 4 3s, so on and so forth. Where's my other 2? Okay, there's 3, 3. This is a 3, but I didn't mark it. 4 is the 4 little dashes in the shape of a square or a circle. Okay, 5 is a little square with a 1. This one I wrote backwards because I was kind of following, what was I doing? I don't know what I was doing. And then we have this is a 6, which I think only goes on the front, yep. And then this is for the back. Okay, so we're gonna need 2 for the front, 2 for the, let me just make sure these are all the same. They are. Okay, so 2 for the front, 2 for the back, 2 for the front, 2 for the back, 2 for the front, 2 for the back. You get the idea. And then for the front is going to use 6. So this is my front, and this is my back. Okay, and we can start wherever we want. The first one here, okay, is 6. So that is, where's my 6? This is my 6, and you can see this one is cut right here at an angle, and you're just going to match that up with the existing roof. Okay, and the bottoms of the scallops will be flush with the bottom of this piece here. So you want to make sure you get it like that, so the scallops are flush with the bottom there. So with this one here, we're going to want to put glue on pretty much the whole thing. Okay, and make sure you get the right piece so that it matches the angle of the roof there. I'm going to put this down on my surface like this, just to make life easier for me. And here you just want to make sure that it is flush with the outer edge. Oops, I just dropped a piece. There we go. I'll just hold that in place. Okay, I'll pick that up before I forget about it. Okay, I'm going to grab a number 5, which is the little square with a 1. And you'll notice that there's a set of markers there. Just line it up with that set of markers. And there you have it. I'm just going to go from the bottom up. And with these remaining ones here, I'm just going to keep the glue up towards the top. And just do your best to line that up with the marker. And also keep that nice and flush with the side. Okay, just press that into place. So, and that light is really showing that white core on the glitter, which again, I'm going to keep because that adds some interest to the project. All right, we're going to do a number 4. That's our 4. It's the 4 little dashes in the shape of a square or circle. And line that up with the marker. And that's going to keep everything nice and straight for us, like so. Yeah, this project's maybe taking a little bit longer than I thought, but I think it's just because of the detail. All right, next is the number 3. Get that going. But it's cool. This is what you guys want, isn't it? I don't know. I don't even know if I know what you guys want. There we go. It's a cool little project, though. Okay, so there's 4. Let's go to number 2. Get that going. And we don't put the cap on until we have both sides glued into place, obviously. And it just kind of helps leaving this thing on your surface. Gives you a little more leverage to push down, keep everything nice and uniform. Okay, and then let's get a number 1. One thing that we have left to do still is assemble that top roof, which is easy. Kind of wish that this was the last little leg, but it's not. It's okay. Get that nice and straight. Oh, it's slippery. There we go. Get that out to the edge. Beautiful. Hold that in place. Awesome. All right, so that side's done. Now we're going to go back over here and let's find our piece number 6. So the square with the 2. And again, you can see this one's cut here. That's going to go right there. And those scallops need to be flush with the bottom. So we are going to put glue on this thing, on the whole thing here, all the way down to the scallops. Okay. Pop that in there. Make sure it's flush with the outer edge and that the scallops are flush with the bottom, like so. There we go. Okay, first marker on the list is the number 5, square with a 1. Get your glue up towards the top, like so, and use the marker. The flat edge needs to go up against those little markers there. Make sure the outside is flush with the edge of the roof there. Okay, and people are texting me as I'm doing this. I don't like that. Good. Next is the 4. There's your 4. Okay, and we'll pop that in. There we go. It's looking good. So anyway, going fishing today. Number 3 is next. I did not draw it in here, but there is a Roman numeral 3 on that one. Going fishing today. Can't wait. It's going to be nice. To all my Wisconsin friends, going muskie fishing. It's one of the prized fish up there. I've caught one in my life on accident. Today we're going to try to do it on purpose. There we go. All right, number 2. Get that going. It's all about the details with these projects. There's some houses out there. They just, you know, it's like they started designing them, but they just ran out of steam and didn't finish them up. That's why sometimes these projects take us longer than we'd like, because I just don't want to, you know, just want to do it right. Okay, match that up with the little marker. Make sure it's flush with this edge. Press that down. There we go. Okay, and again, the cap is going to go on top once we finish the other side. So we've got to repeat this process again, and that looks fabulous. All right, so front is done. Let's go to the back. And this one is not numbered, only because it's just the bottom piece here. And just like with the front, this one's going to go on and it's going to be flush with the bottom of the roof. Okay, so we're going to try our best to get this whole thing glued down, although it is rather long. I guess we have the fact that this is glitter helping us out. So the back is kind of glossy. It doesn't absorb the glue as quick, so we do have a little extra time. Just be careful here. Just slide that around. And it might be a little tight depending on the thickness of the paper that you used for the actual for the texture on your house. That's okay. Just line that up. Make sure it's nice and straight, nice and flush, especially out on the sides and here in the center. There we go. That's all we needed. Okay, and then we have the first piece is a 5, and we've got a 4, and we've got a 3, a 2, and a 1, and then we'll put our little end caps on. But start with the 5, and you can do each side one at a time. You can go back and forth, whatever, however you want to do it. It doesn't really matter. Just make sure that you line it up with the little score mark there. There it is. And just press that into place. Make sure it's nice and straight. Where is my score mark? There it is. That was a little bit off. It's okay. There we go. And just hold. Almost there, guys. There's we've included some bats, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with those. All right, the next one in line is a 4. So I'm just going to do one side at a time here instead of going back and forth. I'm going to channel Henry Ford here and just do a little assembly line. Find that score mark. Line it up. Where are you? There it is. Oh boy. There we go. Yeah, we have that angled roof at the top. There's going to be a little bit of light popping through there as well. And then one other thing too that I was playing around with was I went to Michael's because Joanne's no longer around, and I found some cool beads, and I hot glued these together to create a little finial at the top. So you can just kind of have fun with that. Maybe you have a stash of, wait a second. Oh, that goes there. Maybe you have a stash of like jewelry related stuff, and maybe there's something in that stash that you can use to make a cool like gothic looking finial. I was kind of going for, you know, a gothic feel. This light might be helpful if I have it over here. There we go. That's better. Now I can see the score lines better. Maybe you can too. There we go. Very happy with how this is turning out. Had a vision for it, and it's really coming together just as we had hoped. All right, let's go with the number 2 now. Okay. And use those score marks. You can actually put the end cap on this side when we're done with this next piece, since it's not really tied in to the other side at all. Okay, there's that. And then find the number 1. Get that in place. There we go. Beautiful. All right. All right, grab one of the end caps now. They're both the same, so it doesn't matter which one you grab. And this is, again, since we're gluing this on top of glitter, you want to be patient and make sure you get some glue out to the very edges of it. So otherwise it's going to want to peel off. And push it up against the side as far as it'll go. And now it's just a waiting game. Get as many fingers as you can on there to hold that down. So this is turning out super cool. I am definitely going to, some of these pieces I like to keep in my studio. I think this one I'm gonna bring in the house. And I just saw Peyton a few minutes ago, and he's like, "Dada, you wanna play with me?" I'm like, "Buddy, I gotta make Halloween stuff." How kind of silly is that, isn't it? I'm out here like making Halloween crafts. He's so into Halloween. It's really cute. But I guess, you know, what would you expect when he's being raised by two freaks, I guess you could call us, as far as Halloween goes, that's for sure. All right, so I think that maybe it's got it now. No, not quite. I can feel that it's kind of pulling away right in the center there, but I think we got it now. I got some fuzz on there from when I was inking it. I inked the top of it because I was in a hurry and I cut the perforated version of it, but that looks great. Okay, so now we're gonna go back here to this side, and the first piece is 5. So it's the square with the 1. Okay, and again, just use those little markers, and it takes the guesswork out of it, literally. Okay, my hand's kind of in the way, but you get the idea here. You'll see it as soon as I pull it away. There we go. Next one is a 4. And yep, visions of Santa's workshop here, huh? Don't you think? I love the base, by the way. You can see it there. There's a little bit that I need to clean up, but it turned out really cool. I love that moss. Looks like an unkept country lawn. Looks like my lawn, actually. Okay, next is 3. Let's get that going. Okay. Use those guides. Oh, it's slippery. That's for sure. And then, since we didn't put any glue on the very tips of the scallops on these shingles, if you want to take and sort of train them out to, you know, give them a little added dimension, you can. I might. We'll see. We'll see how it photographs first without me doing that, and then I might. All right, next is the 2. Use those markers. There we go. So yeah, anyway, you have the option. And we could have very easily cut this out with one piece and done little cutouts where you could train them all, but just not quite the same with the detail and the layering. So it's the extra work is worth it, in my opinion, because it really just makes a statement. It's like, wow, that's a lot of detail there. You can see that. All right, let's do the 1, and then we'll put the cap on. And then we're onto the last little leg here. We've got just the final top roof to assemble and put some shingles on. So probably, I don't know, at least another 30 minutes, I would say. And then we'll wrap this up. The Eek Estate, and you can see here we have the little hole, so you can put a plug-in light in there. They even have plug-in LEDs. I got tired of dealing with the batteries, honestly. They just didn't last very long, and I'm sorry that I recommended it. But I thought it was just kind of a fluke, but then no matter which ones I bought, they just didn't last very long, and the colors, the color representation was also poor, and yeah, I don't know, whatever. You can still use them if you want, but all right, so let's put the cap on. Again, just make sure it's up against that peak as far as it'll go. And then just use as many fingers as you can to hold that down, especially if you're using glitter like I am. And just give that a moment or 2 or 3 or like 5 minutes probably to set fully. Okay. Yeah, it's, you know, the glitter, good old glitter. Just really adds time to the assembly, but again, wanted to keep it in the style of the Putz houses, and the glitter was a must, in my opinion. I was hoping that we could find something that was like a glitter that had a hint of purple in it, maybe, but it's okay. It still turned out nice, like that. Okay, and that is not quite flush there. Might need to put a little bit more glue on that. We'll see, maybe not. No, that's fine. We'll see. Yeah, that one there. So I just noticed that on that other side, the center of it's kind of popping out a little bit. It's not like if I had a home inspector come by and see that, they'd be like, no, you got a bad roofer. You need to get that fixed. So I'm gonna press that down a little more. Make sure it sits nice and flat. Okay, cool. So last step here is the top part of the house. And it's got a nice little Gothic feel to it. There we go. Cool. All right, let me turn this off for now. That looks sharp. I love it. All right, let's take a look here. So here are the 4 pieces for this, and they are numbered. Okay, you have R1, R2, R3, and 4, which again is the 4 little lines in the shape of a square. And of course we need to put the vellum on this piece. Look at that nozzle. That thing is dirty. Let's get that in place, let that set. Let me clean this off. You are not in good shape here, buddy. All right, so we're gonna assemble this real quick, and we're gonna put them in order. R1, R2, R3, and R4. And here's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna start by gluing these tabs together and forming this shape. It's curved. It's not hard though, but let's start by anchoring just the very bottom. And you know what, I'm gonna turn this on. It's very helpful with the black paper, so I'm gonna leave it on. Don't often use this much black. Okay, so line that up at the bottom with that first tab. Make sure it's nice and straight. You're just gonna kind of follow this natural curve of the paper here to form this little roof. Okay, so what you can do now is we'll take and just fold the next tab in a little bit and line that up. You're gonna have to give it a slight little curve as you work your way up to keep that all lined up nicely. Okay, there's that. And then we'll go here, throw a little glue on that tab, and I'm pushing with my finger on the inside here on that tab, but I'm also just flipping it around so I can see this line from the outside, just to make sure that everything is lining up correctly. Okay, next one. And again, we're putting shingles on this, so don't worry if you get a little bit of glue on it, not the end of the world. It's all gonna be covered up. Okay, and the next one. And again, we have little markers here to help you with the placement of the shingles. And then the last one here, still a little bit of glue on that. Line that up. You can see how I'm kind of naturally going along this curve here. And when we get the final piece in place, it's really going to start curving even more, which is what we want. Okay, so we have 1 and 2. Now grab piece number 3, and we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna start by anchoring it to the bottom and just focus on making sure that that's lined up properly. I have a chipmunk in my studio. They're starting to kind of get settled in for winter, I think, and I don't even want to tell you what I have to do, but it's either that or they're going to destroy my studio. All right, next one. Flip it around, watch that angle, and press. Should go pretty quick. As long as you're sparse with the glue, I don't know, 4 or 5 seconds for each tab. Just make sure you're lining it up nicely. There we go. And yeah, I could probably do more than one tab at a time, but I just want to make sure that I get the angle right. There we go. And literally, could just be one press, and that's all you need. You may not even need to hold it, especially if you go to a good, nice, or a nice, strong press. You're basically forcing that glue into the fibers of the paper. There we go. Way too much there. That's okay though. Like I said, we're gonna be covering that up, so get it out of your system now. Perfect. All right, so that's 3. Here's 4. Same thing. We're going to anchor that first. And just make sure that you're doing it in the right order, because otherwise this is not going to work, because this is not a symmetrical roof. It's like wider on one side. Okay, there we go. And things are going to get a little claustrophobic here now as we start to close this thing up. That's okay. Still plenty of room to work. There we go. Pop that in. Next one. There we go. Beautiful. And we may end up using our little painting method when we go to close this up, so that we don't risk ripping this apart when trying to apply glue to these tabs, especially the ones up towards the top. As this thing kind of closes in on itself, it may be a little more difficult to get your glue nozzle up there. But I can feel it. We're on the home stretch. I can't wait to see this thing lit up. Okay, there we go. You can push that out of the way for now. It's strong enough. Don't get too rowdy with it though. All right, cool. All right, so let's close this up. And as I mentioned, now, actually, you know what we could do? Could technically start at the top so that we maybe don't have to paint anything. Let's try that. Let's go to the top here. And just make sure the top is nice and lined up. Kind of like working from the bottom up. I feel like the angle is better. But it's doable as long as you pay attention. As long as you pay attention. I don't even know if I'm holding. No, I'm going to go to the bottom. It's just easier. I thought I could get away with it, but no, this is easier. We'll use the paint method. Okay, that's so much easier. And you can see that the rest of it just kind of snaps into place when you get that bottom one lined up. So grab a few pieces of scrap. We're going to need it here. Throw it on there, and you can literally just take and paint some glue on that tab instead of trying to get your nozzle in there, and then just press just like that. Bring it in again, throw a little more glue on that one. There's still some residual glue on that little piece. Line that up. Okay, and you know, technically you probably still could get your nozzle in there. I think it's sloppy, so I'm just doing this. And I'm going to put glue on the next two just to make life easier. Line that up and press. Get the next one. Might be getting a little harder to get your finger up there. And that just leaves this last one here. I can literally just take and paint some glue up there like that. Line that up and press. And there you have it. Okay, so now what we're going to do, I'm going to fold these tabs in. Okay, and we have two pieces that look like this. One says RL and one says R. Grab the one that says RL and pull these tabs out and pop this in there, then close them up. And what we're going to do is we're going to put some glue on one of the tabs here, and we're going to press that tab up against this little skeleton piece. It's pretty much like what we did with the house, and that's to help keep its shape. Let's tuck this back in. And then we're going to go over here to the opposite side on this tab. Throw a little glue on that, fold this up, press that up against the little liner or skeleton piece. Make sure that skeleton piece is pushing up against the very edge here. Okay, and then you can close this up. Fold this one over and press down. And this will make putting the bottom on much easier as well. Okay, and fold that over. Okay, so now we're going to take this piece and apply glue to its entirety, like so, inside and out. Okay, we're going to polish this off on the bottom. Just get that nice and centered. And stick your finger in there to help kind of get it into place. Don't worry about it if you got glue spilling out, it's fine. Get that inside part in first and then check your seams. Okay, check my finial. Oh yeah, that's perfect. All right, so now we're gonna put this on here. You notice that keep these tabs in there. We will utilize them, although we may not have to. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put glue on this entire top here. It's okay if you go a little bit heavier here. Okay, and I know for a fact that I'm gonna need to probably paint this a little bit. We'll go ahead and pop that on there. Make sure it's centered. And just press and hold that down. Make sure it's nice and centered. And continue holding that down. Okay, and what we want to do is just keep pressing this down so that everything looks nice and seamless where the roof meets the actual structure. Okay, and if we have to, we might need to take a little bit of glue and just kind of paint it right in that little crevice where the two meet. Okay, we'll see here in a second how this all pans out. I don't want to let this go prematurely though. This is kind of vital to get right. Okay, so it's time to put the shingles on the main part of the roof. Now again, there's two sides that are the same length and two that are a little bit shorter. So you're gonna have two of each, minus the fact that there's a window. So these two are the same size, but you can see that there's a little half circle cut out. Well, partial anyway. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna kind of reverse engineer this a little bit. You're gonna find the longest pieces here. Okay, and out of all these, let me move this up a little bit so you can see better. Okay, you can see that these are the longest, the two longest sets. Oh, there they are. These are the two longest sets. One of them has that little half circle cut out of it. Okay, and that right here is going to be the bottom of this one here. Okay, so let's get that glued into place. Now this one is going to go completely flat, so you want to make sure you get glue down to the scallops, all the way to the edge. Okay, and we'll begin with this one here. And you want, well, just match it up with the little cutout for the window, actually. That's a good guide, I guess you could say. Okay, there's that. And then the same one, that's the same size, this one here, is going to go on the back. Okay, so we're going to kind of work our way like this, by just like process of elimination, essentially. And then we're going to go over to the other side and get the longest ones from that side and just work our way up. So this one, again, there is a marker there. So line it up with the marker, but also make sure it's flush with the bottom of the roof. Okay, just press that down, give that a second. Now we're going to go over to the longer side, and these are the two longest pieces for the longer side. We'll get those installed. Okay. Again, use the marker, but also make sure it's flush with the bottom and get it centered. There we go. Home stretch here, guys. There we go. Okay, flip it around, grab the longest piece, the one that's remaining. Use the marker. And those little tabs that were left over from this little piece here, I did not glue those down, and I think that they're just intended to be sort of guides to help you get this thing centered. Because once those tabs are up, they really can't move around too much. So I don't think we need to worry about gluing them to the inside of this. Those little tabs that were part of this. They're just guides. If you want, you can glue them down, I guess, but I don't think it's necessary. All right, so the first layer is in place. Now, let's start with the window. Okay, find the markers. I'm gonna move this way so I can see the markers better. This is gonna go here, like that. Okay, hopefully you can see that. So find the other piece that is this wide. I think it's this one here, and that's going to go on the back. Okay, but let's do the front first. And here I'm just going to start putting the glue up towards the top, just like we did with the other parts of the roof. And most importantly here, just make sure that it matches up with the cutout for the window. Okay, we don't want to obstruct that. Make sure it's centered and press and hold. You can see that. That light's really setting off that glitter, huh? Okay, and again, this is the same width piece, but it's going to go on the back. So let's get that going. Use those markers. Get it centered. Kind of using my fingers here on the sides to make sure that it's flush. That looks good. All right, now I'm going to find the next largest pieces, and let's just double check and make sure that in fact does fit. So that's for this one. So we have two of these. They're identical. And just focus the glue up at the top mostly. And again, use those little markers. There we go. Press that down. Like so. That little LED light that I'm using for extra light is kind of giving this an eerie glow. All right, let's go over to the other side, and you get the idea here. And it's just a matter of making sure we get the right pieces. Can't really go wrong here because, well, it kind of gets smaller as you work your way up, so pretty self-explanatory. as far as which piece goes next. And then of course we have the little cutout for the window, which is almost like an absolute guide to ensure that we got the right piece. Okay, cool. All right, so let's go back to the window here. And you can see we have this piece here. So let's find the one that is the exact same, except doesn't have the cutout, which is right here. So that's going to go on the back. But let's do the front first. Okay, use the little, you got little score marks there to help you with the placement. And you can see perfect little shape for the window. And this will eventually go over it like so, but we'll worry about that later. Okay, and where's that other piece that was that size? I think it's, is that this one? Yeah, it's this one. So we'll go over to the other side now. Get our glue on this guy. Okay, use those markers. There it is. Perfect. Whoops, mine slipped. And glitter will do that. Okay. Now for these little end caps for these, I probably will use hot glue for these just because, well, you know the story. Glitter on glitter. Okay, next find the next largest remaining for this side here, and that goes right there. Okay. And press that down and hold. See where that goes, and there's that beautiful contrast. So that the few times that I actually appreciate a white core. Guess you never know. Okay, going over here now. And this will just start to kind of figure itself out. There's very few pieces left, so you can't really mess it up. Okay. A few more layers. All right, going back to the front, and let's lay these out by size. This one's going to be a little bit shorter. Let's double check and make sure it fits, and it does. So that one's going to go there. The same piece is going to go on the back. The window's done now, so we don't have any of those references to guide us. We just kind of have to make sure that as we place these, that they fit correctly. There you go. That one's going there. It's like a little puzzle. I think we were going to put numbers on these, but I don't think you really need to. Okay, going here now. Oh, I can feel the anticipation of completing it. It's imminent. Okay, well, let me power on my hot glue gun and just get it ready, just in case. I think I'm gonna want to use it. There we go. All right, over to the longer side now. We have these pieces that are almost the same size as that last one, just a tiny bit wider because this thing is not square. It's rectangular. Use those markers. Press that down. Okay, my caps for my roof look pretty good. They seem to be holding up nicely. Okay, a couple more to go. We got 2 more layers, I think. There's that. Now the finial, there's a touch of gold in it. I was gonna paint it, but I don't know, maybe it'll be okay. Especially if I don't mind it. We'll see, I don't know. There's not really any gold anywhere else. Maybe silver would have been better, but I guess I can always paint it after the fact. We'll see. All right, back to the front. And so we have these pieces left. Obviously, these here are the smallest, and these are a little less wide. Let's double check. There's still a marker there. Yep, that's the one. So we'll do the front and back, and then we'll go side, side. Perfect. Just make sure that as you run your finger along the edge here, this piece that we're gluing down is not encroaching over that edge. I want it to be within the confines of this side. All right, let's flip her over, or rotate her, I should say. Okay, we've got the markers there. Beautiful. Okay, and then over to the wider side. A few more to go. So the bats that we included, what you can do is grab a little bit of wire, okay, and you're gonna cut a little bit of wire, maybe, I don't know, about 4 inches of wire, very thin, and you're gonna sandwich the bat between the wire, or the wire between the bats, and you can kind of dangle them off the roof, off the top, like they're flying around the top. We actually did that with a project years ago where we had something similar, and it just adds a nice little creepy touch. You don't have to if you don't want. It's totally optional, but I think it'd be a cute little touch, a creepy little touch. All right, going back to the front, and again, let's separate these out. It's kind of hard to tell. I think this one's a little bit shorter. Let's double check. Yep, that's the one. So it's not as wide. And that's going to go on the front and the back to finish off the top of the roof. Make sure that this is actually now flush with the very top. And there is a hole at the top, but that again is for your finial so that you can glue something to the top. And also so that you can feed your little bats through there. Oh, I did not get enough glue on there. Let's try that again. With this last piece here, it might be helpful to grab a dowel or something that you can stick inside to push that up against. I think that was the problem there. I just wasn't getting, it wasn't grabbing. Okay, flip it around, do the same thing here, go a little bit heavier with the glue, and line that up, right up to the very tip. I'm just sticking a pencil in there to help me grab onto something. I feel like I'm doing surgery. There it is. Okay, and now the 2 remaining sides. Then we're going to put our caps on there. Get that up there. Just sticking a pencil in there, pushing up against my finger with that pencil. Help that shingle grab a hold of something. And the last shingle, didn't think I would say that so soon. There it is, line that up and press. Give them something to hold on to. There we go. Okay, cool. So that looks fabulous. And then, so here we have these little caps. They're going to go along the side like this. Okay, that looks awesome actually. And as I mentioned, because this is on glitter, I'm definitely going to use some hot glue with this. So my hot glue should be fired up. It's fired up. And we'll see how this goes. Me and hot glue, we're not the best of friends, but we make it work. Just gonna go nice and thin. Right in the center. Swirl it around, and then you want, does this go? Yeah. So the pointy part is going to go towards the bottom. And that goes right up at the top. Okay, and push that up against the structure as far as it'll go. Let that hot glue do its magic. We'll see how well this works. I have my doubts. Yeah, that hot glue dried up on me so quick. Boy, hot glue, you are just a pain in the behind. I gotta go quicker. All right, let's get this going here. Come on. Gotta go quick. There we go. Now we got it. And just press that up against both sides. Let that hot glue kind of squirt out and make its way out. Perfect, yes. That looks great. So you can see that little end cap there. It's nice. Now I've got spider webs all over the place. Perfect. Yeah, this worked out nice. Okay, so again, the little point is going to go down the little, because it's kind of like there's a valley here and then a point at the bottom. Just remember that the point goes to the bottom. So I would, if you're using glitter like I am, definitely utilize the hot glue for this, because otherwise you're going to spend an eternity waiting for this to dry. That is perfect. That is perfect. Yes. Very happy with that. And that just, makes everything look nice and seamless, just like they do in roofing. It kind of ties the two sides together. And also just adds a little interest and dimension to it as well. So I've got 2 more to go. Let's take a look at that. That looks great. Nice and flush. Perfect. All right, a couple more. And then I'll show you I don't think I really need to show you the bats. I think you understand. And then I would hot glue the wire to the inside of this little opening here if you are going to add the bats. And then hot glue your finial on top to close it off. Maybe someday I'll build a real house, huh? Or if I could shrink myself and move into one of these, I totally would. All right. So again, keep the point at the bottom. There we go. Work with it while it's hot. As you saw last time, I waited a little too long and it dried up on me and just did not stick. There we go. Oh yeah, and let's not forget about the little cover for the window as well. That's perfect. Okay, let's see. Does the finial kind of cover that up for me? Yeah, looks nice. All right, you know what? And I'm gonna have to hot glue this as well. That's okay. Little accent for the window on the front with the hot glue. Make sure it's lined up accurately. Press that into place. It's probably the most hot glue I've ever used in my life. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so as I mentioned with the bats, make sure that that's on there nicely, and it is. Yeah, maybe not. I'm gonna try that again. Said me and hot glue, we are not best buds. I think I need to put a little more on there. Ugh. I don't like you, hot glue. Ew. Oh man, yeah, it's kind of spilling out now. No, I don't like you, hot glue. Get out of there. I could probably trim that, it's fine. I will clean that up because it's gross. And right there, that's fine. I'm getting all OCD on myself now here. Okay, anyway, that's it. That looks fantastic. And again, I'll show you the bats here. So we're literally going to take, and I gotta find some wire. All right, so as I mentioned with the bats here, what you're gonna do is just take a little bit of wire. I would straighten it out. You can straighten it out by just running like a pencil through it, almost like your training paper, and just cut off a little bit. Okay, and you're gonna lay, I'm gonna put texture side out and just glue, let me straighten that out. I'm gonna glue the wire to the inside of one of the bats, like right down the center. Then you're gonna take the other one and glue it on top to close it off, right? And then once you're done, you can kind of twirl it around, glue it to the inside of the tower, and then, like I said, just pop your finial on there. Let's see here, that one might look better. And call it a day. So that's gonna be it. I don't think I'm gonna walk you through that. It's pretty self-explanatory, but let's take a look at the end result here. I wanna look at it on my main camera. That looks awesome. That is basically what I envisioned, so turned out great. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please take a moment, visit us on our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. While you're there, hit the little bell so you get notifications anytime we release a new project. And for those of you that are interested in making this, you can purchase it individually on Creative Fabrica. Just visit the product page, scroll down a little bit. It's a very small button on the right-hand side. Or just grab yourself an all-access membership and you'll have access to everything in this bundle and everything else we've ever made over our 10-year history. So that's gonna do it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Happy Halloween, and as always, I look forward to crafting with you again.